Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
The song that you are currently listening to is called Which One Are You? It's a standalone single from the band Atomga, who will be performing with Be Love Experience at the Caribou Room very soon. If you want to learn more about Atomga, be sure to head to their website at atomga.com and find their music wherever you get your music. And if you want to see them perform with Be Love Experience at the Caribou Room located at 55 Indian Peaks Drive in Nederland, and you want to get your tickets in advance, then be sure to head to thecaribouroom.com. Atomga and Be Love Experience will be performing at the Caribou Room located at 55 Indian Peaks Drive in Nederland on Saturday, March 1st, 2025. Hello there, everybody. My name is Jamie Lammers, and welcome back to the Mountaineer Podcast. We're finally here with another Miscellaneous Monday episode on a Monday. It feels like a miracle to be here. I've got an awesome segment from our correspondent, Maryann Rosen, to bring you today. Before we get into that segment, though, some preliminary announcements. First, if you haven't subscribed to The Mountaineer yet and you're looking for something new to subscribe to in 2025, then be sure to head to our website at themtnear.com and click on subscribe in the top right corner of our homepage. From there, you can get full access to our digital archives, scanned copies of the physical newspaper, and even choose to receive a physical subscription or send one to someone you love. If you're interested in getting your advertising in the paper, then be sure to head to themtnear.com/advertise to learn more about the options that are available. And if you want to talk to somebody about advertising directly, then be sure to email marketing@themountaineer.com or adsales@themountaineer.com or call 720-960-2900. Next on the regular preliminary announcements is this weekend's movie at the Backdoor Theater, which is Paddington in Peru, rated PG. Here's the logline provided by the Backdoor Theater. Paddington returns to Peru to visit his beloved Aunt Lucy, who now resides at the home for retired bears. With the Brown family in tow, a thrilling adventure ensues when a mystery plunges them into an unexpected journey. If you want to see this family-friendly foray in the Peak to Peak area, then be sure to head to the Backdoor Theater, located in the Nederland Community Center at 750 North Highway 72 in Nederland on Friday, February 28th, starting at 7 p.m., on Saturday, March 1st, starting at 2 p.m. for an open caption matinee, and on Saturday, March 1st, starting at 7 p.m. for a great time at the movies. And finally, before we get into the segment itself, here is a special message given on behalf of Willie Gromit, the winner of the 2024 Pet of the Year contest for the Mountaineer.
It's axiomatic to say that we're living in a time where our souls are feeling as battered as our spirits are darkened. That's precisely why the simple gestures of kindness and generosity stop us in our tracks, inviting us to give pause and remember that while some are pursuing their appetites of greed, Others are opening up their wallets and giving to make their community a kinder place to live. For this, Willie Gromit howls his heartfelt gratitude for his Pet of the Year gifts from Pickled Watermelon Rinds podcast, Peak Wine and Spirits, Mama Roo's Comfort Food, Mountain Man Outdoor Store, Netherland Feed and Pet, and Brightwood Music. He hopes to meet them all in person after the winds stop howling and the snow clears. His people do too.
This note of gratitude is also on our website, the mtnear.com, and it's published under the headline, Thank You, Woof Woof. And now it's time to get into Maryann Rosen's primary segment.
This is the Mountain Ear Podcast, and I'm Maryann Rosen, bringing you history, lore, or stories from or about the mountains you live in. For years in history books, the accomplishments of women, African Americans, members of the LGBTQA+ community, Jewish Americans, Hispanics, and indigenous tribes were largely ignored or misrepresented. As time passed, many pushed to have weeks or months designated to the aforementioned groups and others in order to focus on their contributions to history. February is dedicated to Black history. In 1926, Dr. Carter Woodson, the founder of the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, proposed a week be set aside to highlight the achievements of Black Americans. Black students at Kent State University and the Pan-African Association in 1969 pushed to expand the week into a month. In 1970, Kent State celebrated the first Black History observances. President Gerald Ford officially recognized Black History Month in 1976. It was, however, 10 years later, in 1986, that the United States Congress designated February a National Black History Month, and President Ronald Reagan issued a proclamation of observance. This was also the same year that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday became a national holiday. But why February? Well, back in 1926, the original week chosen by Dr. Woodson was done so, as it encompassed both the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. In keeping with Black History Month, although there are far too many to name, I'd like to tell the stories of a few notable African Americans in Colorado history. The final few have ties to Gilpin County in our own Peak-to-Peak area. Among the stories are those of doctors, musicians, and athletes, political figures and entrepreneurs, activists, and philanthropists. Dr. Justina Ford was the first licensed African-American female doctor in Denver. Dr. Ford practiced gynecology, obstetrics, and pediatrics. During most of the time that she practiced, from 1902 until 2 weeks before her death in 1952, African Americans were barred from working in hospitals or joining medical associations. She, however, set up a private practice in her home in the Five Points section of Denver. She mainly served African Americans, poor whites, and non-English-speaking immigrants who were routinely turned away from hospitals or other practices. Her patients often exchanged goods and services for consultations rather than paying cash. Known as the Lady Doctor, she delivered around 7,000 babies. In 1950, Dr. Ford was finally allowed to join the Colorado and American Medical Associations and the Denver Medical Society. She also finally received hospital privileges at the Denver General Hospital. Another doctor who also made inroads in Colorado as an African American was Dr. Bernard F. Gibson, Sr. Dr. Gibson was Denver's first board-certified Black surgeon. When young, Dr. Gibson would study by the light of a kerosene lamp after finishing his chores in order to obtain the highest educational level possible. He settled in Denver in 1954 as a captain in the United States Air Force, assigned to Lowry Air Force Base as Chief of Surgery. Following his discharge in 1956, he established a private practice until his retirement in 1995. The Bernard F. Gibson East Side Family Health Center is named for him, where he had brought care to all during its very early days. Dr. Gibson treated Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for altitude sickness during King's trip to Denver at the height of the Civil Rights era. Colorado has always been a hotbed for music, and the state has had its share of black musicians. Born in Denver in 1921, Eugene Gash was a noted concert pianist. He began playing the piano at age 9, growing up playing many concerts in the West. By age 19, however, he had played his first concert in New York City, and he played Carnegie Hall at age 27. He ended up leaving Denver to go to San Francisco and study with E. Robert Schmitz and his wife Germaine Schmitz. He worked at the Schmitz studio for 14 years. Shortly after playing Carnegie Hall, he was awarded a Fulbright and a John Hay Whitney Fellowship to study in Europe. He made his European debut in 1950 as a soloist for the Mozarteum Orchestra in Salzburg, Austria. Over his lifetime, Gash played for the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra, was a professor of music at the University of California at Berkeley, and worked as a journeyman shipfitter. Eugene Gash was inducted into the Colorado Black Hall of Fame in 1973 and died in 1995. The next musician is one famous for being the first African American to be a member of a major symphony. Charles Burrow, born in 1922, was a classical and jazz bass player who, after moving to Denver at age 29, was hired by the Denver Symphony Orchestra, now known as the Colorado Symphony. Burrow is often referred to as the Jackie Robertson of classical music. Charles Burrow left the symphony to become the bass player in Nellie Lucher's band. He went on to become a prominent jazz player in the Five Points area of Denver. Burrow rose to prominence by becoming the house bass player at the Rossonian Hotel, considered the entertainment central spot in Five Points during the era. He played in the first integrated jazz trio in Colorado, the Al Rose Trio. Charles Burrow shared the stage with jazz legends such as Billie Holiday, Charlie Parker, Errol Garner, Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Lionel Hampton, and more. Leroy Smith was an African-American entrepreneur who moved to Denver and became well known in the business community. He is notable for being Colorado's first African-American game warden and the first black member of Denver's Chamber of Commerce. Smith was also inducted into the Broadcast Pioneers of Colorado's Hall of Fame for his work as Denver's first African-American radio DJ. He also owned and opened Rhythm Records and Sporting Goods in Five Points in 1939. Another business person and activist who made an impact as a black woman is Dorothy Ann Witt King. King moved to Denver after marrying Frank King, who had been raised in the city. Her husband, Frank, was the first African American to attend the School of Engineering at the University of Colorado. Mrs. King's own legacy included her work with girls at the Denver Park and Recreation and the Whittier Recreation Center. She developed Show Wagon, a traveling talent show that made its rounds in Denver parks throughout the summer. Dorothy King brought to life the Silhouettes in Black History, a group that featured performers portraying activists, scientists, cowboys, and famous African-American leaders. The Silhouettes performed in schools, including segregated ones. She gained business acumen as the first African-American manager of the University of Colorado at Denver's bookstore, which she successfully managed for 17 years. King also created Personal Services, Inc. in the 1970s. Personal Services was a laundry and custom ironing service in the Denver area that employed women with limited skills and income. It provided paying jobs where women could also set their own hours. On the political scene, Judge James Flanagan set a first in 1957 as the state of Colorado's first black judge. Elvin R. Caldwell Sr., born in Five Points, was elected to the Colorado House of Representatives in 1950. In 1955, Caldwell was elected to the Denver City Council, becoming the first African American to hold a council seat west of the Mississippi. He was council president 5 times. Jerome Biffle was an Olympic gold medalist in the long jump at the 1952 Olympics in Helsinki. He was the first track star inducted into the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame. We now arrive much closer to home. William Witzel was the first African-American male born in Colorado. His parents were thought to have been freed slaves who came west to work on the railroad. They, however, ended up in Gilpin County, where jobs in building and mining were plentiful. William Witzel was born in the area now known as Central City. Another noted resident of Central City who made her mark as an African-American woman was Clara Brown. Clara Brown was a former enslaved woman who came west during the Colorado Gold Rush. She became a community leader and philanthropist in Gilpin County. She was known as the Angel of the Rockies and achieved recognition as Colorado's first black settler and a prosperous entrepreneur. When settling in Central City, Brown worked as a laundress, cook, and midwife. With the money she made, she invested in properties and mines in nearby towns, becoming a wealthy woman. She provided emotional and financial and health support to those in need, including newly settled Euro-Americans, African-Americans, indigenous peoples, and those who were sick or lived in poverty. Clara Brown hosted Methodist services and Sunday school classes in her home. She donated money to the construction of the local Catholic Church and the first Protestant church in the Rocky Mountains. Wink's Lodge in Lincoln Hills, Colorado, outside of Nederland, served as a sanctuary for African Americans during segregation. Built by Aubrey Wendell Winks Hamlet, the lodge was built in the Lincoln Hills Country Club, which was, at the time, the only African-American resort in the western United States. Lincoln Hills functioned as a reprieve from segregation for mostly middle-class African Americans in the 20th century. It was created in the 1920s when Denver had a thriving African American population living largely in the Five Points neighborhood. The rise in racial tensions and presence of the Ku Klux Klan flamed hostility towards African Americans. In 1922, two black men, E.C. Regnier and Robert Ewalt, purchased 100 acres of land 38 miles west of Denver. They believed that African Americans deserved to be able to enjoy the mountain landscape in the peak-to-peak and have a resort to escape the racial tensions of Denver. They sold small lots to middle-class black families, some of whom camped on their lots and some of whom built rustic cabins. Those who did not own could stay at Aubrey Hamlet's Winks Lodge. Even today, these months and celebrations are a necessity, as this is not ancient history, and the achievements of many groups still are lost in the shuffle. Look for more stories about Women's History Month arriving in March, Jewish Heritage Month happening in May, Gay Pride Month occurring in June, and Hispanic Heritage and Indigenous Peoples Months, which take place in the fall. Listen in next time to the Mountain Ear Podcast for more mountain history, lore, or stories. I'm Maryann Rosen. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Maryann, for bringing us another great segment. We'll be back in a week or two with another segment from Maryann Rosen, and we'll be back in a couple of days with a community-centered episode of the Mountaineer Podcast and our regularly scheduled Music of the Mountains episode. Before then, though, if you want to keep up with the Mountaineer Podcast or share this episode or others around with whoever you see fit, then be sure to scroll near to the bottom of our website's homepage, themtnear.com, or head to our podcast's main hub at the mtnearpodcast.buzzsprout.com to see a full archive of all of our episodes. If you want to be involved in the podcast in any way, shape, or form, including advertising, then be sure to email me at media@themountaineer.com and we'll get something sorted for you. And finally, if you want to give us general feedback about the podcast as a whole, or specific feedback about individual episodes, then be sure to head to the description of any individual episode of the podcast and send us a text. We'd love to hear from you. I'll see you guys very soon for the next episode of the Mountaineer Podcast. Have a great rest of your day! The song that you are currently listening to is called My Heart. It's performed by Be Love Experience, and they performed this live version of the song on May 23rd, 2022. You can see Be Love Experience performing with Atomga at the Caribou Room very soon. If you want to learn more about Be Love Experience as a group, then be sure to head to their website at beloveband.com, head to their Facebook page, or head to their Instagram page. Atomga and Be Love Experience will be performing at the Caribou Room located at 55 Indian Peaks Drive in Nederland on Saturday, March 1st, 2025. Doors open and dinner starts at 7 p.m. and the show starts at 8 p.m. To get your tickets in advance, be sure to head to thecaribouroom.com. The love that's in your heart you'll find when it's shared with the right one, it is divine. Love, what's my heart to you? Love, I wanna give it away. Give it away. Love, can I be part of your love?
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local peak-to-peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.